So good evening, the hour of 5:30 having arrived, call to order this special meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel. The video is also posted on the city website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Anyone wishing to view a copy of the proposed operating budget will find it on the city website, and copies of the printed agenda are also available in the wall pockets just as you enter the room. The public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions, make comments on the agenda item under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. Are not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes has had an opportunity to speak. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a special meeting of Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, and we do have a quorum present. We have one request for an individual to join us by Zoom. And a reminder that the minute taker is with us by Zoom. So from time to time, we may need some clarification. Please remember to turn on your microphone. I'm the worst offender, so they'll be telling me. Calling to order, Councilor Remy. You requested to participate remotely. Please state the reason for the request.
I'm traveling for work.
Okay, thank you. There's no objection. This request will be granted. And please state your location and identify if anyone else is present with you.
I'm in Maryland. There's currently no one with me. I'm in a hotel room, but that may not be the case for the whole call.
All right, thank you very much. So we're back on dealing with the city's budget, and this is the second evening. We have a agenda with 6 departments this evening, and it begins with the fire department. Chief? For those who have the budget book, really starts on page 96.
Good evening, Don Farquhar, Fire Chief. It's kind of a long night, so I'll kind of hit the highlights of our budget, so please interrupt me if you have a question, and we'll certainly take questions at the end. So the fire department budget is between pages 98 and 103. The supplemental increases for the fire department this year is a total of $572,513. A little over $500,000 of that is attributed to either contractual wage or other increases, and also the 4 new firefighters positions. Starting on page 101, if we go down the supplemental columns, the first large supplemental we have asked for comes under medical, so it's a 524,511 if you're looking at the book, and that's a supplemental increase of $36,950. That line item is specifically towards our annual firefighter physicals. We had previously used a vendor for the past 3 or 4 years who had served us very well. Due to some internal circumstances, they're actually a Florida company, they were unable to service our needs for the same price. So we went out for RFP and found a very good company out of Georgia. They're actually the only bidder on the RFP. Are very confident. It's a very competent company. We were also able to, because the same vendor we had previously also service other departments in the area. Once we signed us a contract with this company, several other fire departments in the area signed on, which gave us a little economy of scale. So that line item is probably a little bit high. That we left a little bit high depending on certain testing, depending on firefighters' ages. But that particular line item is just for the annual fire department physicals. Moving down a little further, you'll see a grant match increase of $15,110. That would be non-reoccurring. That's a one-time ask to cover the balance of our AFG grant, our Assistance for Firefighter grant we received last year. Once we applied for the grant and was awarded that grant, the only viable vendors were a little bit higher than estimated. So we postponed that class. It was supposed to happen in spring, and that class will now happen this year in the fall. And that extra $15,110 is to pay the difference between the amount of the grant award and the amount actually needed. If we go to page 102, the only cost not associated with the contractual and staffing increases is about halfway down that page on 102, and that is for supplies and protective clothing. So I'll pause there for a minute because that's an important thing to talk about. Our protective clothing, which is our protective ensembles, boots, helmets, gloves, kind of get into a bad position. We spent a great deal of time this year doing a complete review of all that equipment. So this is mostly going to be non-reoccurring. If things go the way we have them planned out, this would be a one-time investment of that extra money, and we should be able to come back to a normal cycle within what the last line item requested. And what's also interesting about this particular line item is we took a really long look at program management in general, and our protective clothing obviously was a program that was lacking. So we made some different changes and alignments with other programs. So for instance, in this year's CIP, we actually have a new washer and dryer for the PPE, which will go to Station 2. We're also able to, within this budget, work out for a vendor who will do annual testing and repair of our gear. So we have the new gear and then a new washer and dryer and then proper inspection and maintenance. We feel that we can get the full 10-year life cycle out of most of our firefighting ensembles. So again, we feel that this money up front will hopefully get us back down to a more manageable amount. The next line item that looks sort of supplemental comes under supplies and disposable equipment, and that is specifically EMS equipment. So we were fortunate in the past 3 budget years, we were able to substantially offset some costs for medical disposables due to different COVID and other related grants. So we're able to maintain without going over. Those grants are no longer available, and also we brought on some new equipment, some new medical equipment that's very important, and the associated disposable equipment with those items is pretty expensive. So we looked at our costs over the 3-year average and also what we'd expect through our call volume, and we believe that the number that we asked for will offset and properly fund that line item. Oh, did I talk about the wrong one? I think I did. Oh, I doubled up. Nope, it's the right one. I apologize. That was actually on 103, I believe. And then the last large grant item, or the last increase was for a grant match for $15,570. And that is for hopefully our AFG grant this year. That grant is another technical rescue training class, an 8-day certification class, and also about $450,000 of technical rescue equipment. So a lot of that equipment that we have needs to be replaced or enhanced, and that number, $500,000 in gear is not achievable, obviously, through our normal operating budget. So that grant match money, if we're awarded, would offset our 10% match for that. And that's all I have to say specifically. Is there any questions?
Members of the committee? City councilors present in the audience? Other members of the city? Thank you very much. And the library.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll open briefly as enroll as chair of the Board of Trustees of the library. My name is William Stroop from 26 Barker Street, and just to begin by thanking the council for their and the city for their time and support. And to just to point out, as you see within the printed budget as well, that we're very pleased that the library has been able to have 5% of the costs of operating the cost of running the library covered by our wonderful Friends of the Library organization, as well as the trustee budget as well, with the Friends donated $65,000 in the last fiscal year for programs, for collections, for equipment maintenance, museum passes, and wages specifically for makerspace interns. And the trustees paid over $44,000 in purchases for programs, collections, equipment, staff training, and other memberships. So this is 100% of program supplies and event performers. The budget that's presented is in support of the goals that we've identified in our long-range planning, which has been continuing, especially emphasizing the library as a commons environment, a place for development of public discourse, community issues, creative partnership, and assisting local businesses, remote workers, job hunters, and more. This is a long in the making strategic plan, and when we expect it to be adopted by the board at our June meeting. And at that time, the city manager, as well as all city councilors, will have a copy both of the public input from this process, as well as our strategic plan itself. So with that, I will turn to Library Director Marty Fisk, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. So the operating request that you see before you is essentially level funded on all non-personnel lines except for $900 in the telephone and communications line, which reflects our current costs. The focus instead is on converting 3 part-time positions into 2 full-time positions. The tight labor market is creating quick turnover for part-time positions, and part-time positions make up 60% of library staffing. If the request is approved, the total number of staff hours at the library would not change at all. The primary gain is instead in keeping these positions consistently staffed by quality staff members, reducing the staff work in continuous recruitment, shifting of schedules, interviewing, and training. The short staffing is making it even more draining to take care of the spaces that have opened up since the expansion. And the continual cost turnover is very costly. It's estimated that it's twice the annual cost of a salary that is estimated. We've had good luck with volunteer recruitment for the time since COVID. We are getting about 28 hours per week in assistance, which reduces the number of hours paid staff are needed as the wayfinders at the Atrium West Street entrance. However, volunteers take extended periods of time off and require staff recruitment, training, and management, and don't take up all of the hours as well. So the full-time position, one of the full-time positions that we're requesting is for a librarian 1 in youth and programs. This combines a library aide programming and meeting room position that's 28 hours with a librarian 1 youth librarian position, 16 hours. Both of those part-time positions are currently vacant. The heaviest turnover has been in those 2 positions, with most people staying only 4 to 9 months before they move on. The most recent person in one of those positions only stayed 4 shifts before he went on to a full-time job. So conversion to the full-time position will give us a loss of 6 hours per week. The position assists youth and caregivers in accessing library services, plans, and implementing programs for all ages. It requires a bachelor's degree and specialized knowledge in youth literature, child development, audiovisual, and computer equipment. The second request for a full-time position is for a librarian 2 collection development that's currently qualified part-time at 32 hours. And that would gain us back the 6 hours we lost from converting the other one to make it an even wash. This position requires a master's degree and professional experience in cataloging and managing collections in a variety of formats. With the additional hours, this person will be able to take on the management of the periodical collection and will be able to implement some adult literary and reference technology programs. Currently, such high-level programs for adults are very rare because all of the programming is done by youth staff who don't have specialization in adult-level activities of this sort. It's very difficult to recruit and retain master's-level positions at part-time wages if the candidates can't receive retirement and family benefits for health insurance. So by making both of these positions full-time, converting our 3 part-time positions into full-time, it should allow the library to compete in the job market and for these professional positions and be able to retain the staff that we have invested in. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take it.
Thank you. Members of the committee? Other counselors? Other members of the public attending? Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bohannon?
Give it a second just to boot up. We should be good. Close? Yep. There we go. All good? All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Andy Bohannon, Parks, Recreation, Facilities Director. With me tonight is Alyssa Bender, our Youth Services Manager. We'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, just to highlight the budget for you tonight, this is we have our supplemental requests that are highlighted on page 11, the narratives and metrics, which I encourage you to read, which kind of give a really in-depth view of how we arrived at this year's budget and what we're looking forward to related to all the things that we've been able to accomplish and just the numbers that we track during the course of the year. Those can be found between pages 109 and 116. I know we always include our organizational chart, so you'll be able to see. We are adding, included in this particular budget, a new full-time parks person, maintenance aide 1. We did back in 2011 due to some retirements. So this position is getting us back up with all of the new items that we're improving with Russell Park and the dog park and the disc golf and the bike park that has come along. So all of these new amenities, getting our staff back up is something really necessary. We have our revenue detail on 118 and then our operating detail, which we will go into on 119 to 125 if you have any particular questions. So we have our theme this year talks about sustainability, innovation, collaboration, and being a resilient community and cultural hub and economic core. And when I think about these things and looking back at the documents that we use and tying them into everything that we particularly think about over the course of the year and how we develop our budget, and you have to start with a comprehensive master plan and thinking of that bigger picture and then diving down into the weeds, if you will, in our active and passive recreation management plan or the EMG report for the facilities that guides us and tells us what things need to be done and how those things. Now, facilities is more incorporated into the bigger picture of the CIP, but it's the day-to-day stuff that really impacts us, which you see the impact that we're having on our particular budget and those supplementals that we're asking for. We also have the JCC and what's able to bring through Alyssa's, and she'll talk about that a little bit further. We also have the strengthening connections. This is the document that the City Council adopted last year related to strengthening our downtown and our trails and that economic development. That document has kind of set me forward in my thinking related to how are our trails impacting our city and doing the things and finding those donations to helping improve that economic activity in our downtown through our trail system. So that's been a big thing for me this past year and one of the goals that I have forward into next year. All these documents meet your council goals. So we haven't really talked about that a little bit this year, but this is something that I know is always on your agenda as far as are we meeting these particular criteria? It's the city manager who kind of works with you related to that, and then we kind of make sure that we're meeting those goals as well. And so how we incorporate those particular pieces and making sure our strategic governance is matching the goals that you've set forward into our vision for what we need to go forward with. So our mission at Parks and Recreation is to provide the citizens of Keene with quality community services and amenities, including a park and trail system, balanced environmental stewardship, and diverse programming to inspire and support lifestyles of all ages. Now, I believe through our particular budget that we have done, we are able to achieve that. So, before you are two pictures related to what we are about to embark on this year. You just adopted or provided the opportunity for Dubois King to look at Robin Hood Park, and that's improving that quality system of a park that is really used for the east side and the whole community, and a lot of visitors actually go up to Robin Hood Park. And then the Better Sports for Kids quality sports provider. All of our youth sports all of our staff are trained through this program. We have people, all of our registrants have to agree to the terms related to this program. And this is the message that we send forward to our youth service through our youth sports programs. And we see quality results as a means of this program. So one of the things that I would like to kind of highlight is through our recreation programming, we're kind of balancing out. Obviously COVID took a big dive. We were doing really well in 2019. COVID impacted us quite a bit. Programming is kind of rebounding from that. We saw that last year. We're definitely kind of leveling out with the different programs. Something that we did new this year that we have not ever done in the past is we offered spring sports. We kind of always stayed away from those, and those have been a welcome addition to our programming. And so those numbers are kind of impacted there as far as offering spring summer and spring flag football. And you can kind of see that, throughout the different types of programs, we definitely have ways that we can look to enhance what we're offering. But those are the things that are tying in our vision to the strategic governance piece. When it comes to hiring, our workforce development, our lifeguards, I'm pleased to say, knock on wood, we're in really good shape. We have through the revolving fund, we hired last year's budget. We designated a social marketing person that focuses specifically on our social media related to our program numbers, and this has made a big difference for our department. Nicole Coolane does an amazing job with everything, and we see direct results from it. The hiring with the lifeguards, we're 14, which is a good number to have. We would like 16. We have 3 in the pipeline of those 14 that are still waiting to get certified, but everybody else is committed. So, and they're a younger staff, so we're going to be looking at some programming-related options at the pools a little bit as far as operating hours, but we will definitely had both pools open, which is a great sign for us coming this summer. But I would share that as the state of New Hampshire, our current minimum wage is $7.25. If that gets adjusted through whether it be this process with the governor or the next process, it's going to continue to be a conversation. We have done quite a bit of significant adjustment over the past few years. That adjustment gets us by right now. And if that minimum wage was to change, we would be impacted. We would be impacted on staff. We would be impacted on programming because we wouldn't be able to hire the proper staff to do that. So that could be a potential impact if something happens, but I feel comfortable where we are right now. Next year, if that changes, we'll need to address it. So I would just like to keep that in mind when you're hearing the news about what's being impacted on the minimum wage front. As far as recreation, I think the facilities and the parks, that's going to be part of the CIP process as we've kind of tied those two together. As you can see here, this is a picture of our new Russell Park on the south playground. This is a great opportunity for us to highlight and share, those. We're taking the active and passive recreation management plan and we're implementing it. It's not sitting on a shelf collecting dust. We are focusing on the long-range capital plannings, park-specific sites, and monitoring the levels of service that we have. And that, from the levels of service, is providing the opportunity for a new full-time employee. The pictures that you see here are some of the work. We have an incredibly talented park staff, and they did a complete renovation of Mike Rogers Field last fall, kind of in their down season, if you will. But they took a lot of pride in this, and I will say that for any youth baseball player here in Keene, just travel around the state, and you're going to find that Keene has some of the best facilities in the entire region. But in addition, some of the parks that are going to be coming into our system here in the near future, Russell Park will be opening this summer, the skate park. We have the campground being repurposed for a dog park and a disc golf. You have the Ashwillett River Park, climate resiliency plan, and the Robin Hood concept plan that are all kind of in action. Our trails, I mentioned earlier, this was a celebration that we had last year for our Cheshire Rail Trail Phase 3. These additions certainly impact our operations, but again, we're seeking donations that make these things happen. You look at this particular group, and you have Pathways for Keene, who's donated over $700,000 over the course of 20 years. That's pretty significant. I don't know another community that has a community partner that's been able to say that. But what they have been able to do is bring other partners on. And I think that's the most important thing. They've been able to go out and get the Monadnock Conservancy to buy into our vision and help us improve our trail system. They've been able to get $50,000 out of them, and now they're on a campaign for an additional $100,000 for the Transportation Heritage Trail. These are all donations that take a lot of work to maneuver throughout the system and then bring forward to you, but they impact our operating budgets for sure. Our cemeteries, one of the things that we will be doing this year is a master plan for Monadnock View Cemetery, which will be coming to you here in the near future, but that would be looking to take care of that in the fall as we move forward through our busy season and get ready for that with a consultant, and that process will be coming to you here in the near future. Our facilities, if you take a quick look, that's the new front of the Public Works building. Our staff has done a great job kind of giving that some light and re-energizing the front of Public Works. And those are the kind of the efforts that our facility team has. They're as talented a group of any facilities team that I know, and they take a great deal of pride in their work. And facilities-wise, when you talk about some of our funding, we've capitalized on all the things that you've been able to give us through donations, through capital projects. We don't get a lot of donations for facilities, but we get the congressionally directed spending opportunities to focus in on what we have to do. We are searching for grants constantly and bringing those forward to you, and your support is greatly appreciated. One of the things that I would say within the budget, you will say supplemental requests that are fairly significant, specifically for the library. The library, believe it or not, this has really been our first full year of operations for facility-wise. We opened in the fall of 2019 with the ribbon cutting, and then we went right into COVID, and then those particular COVID years, we weren't able to get a true assessment of how the building operated. This past year has provided us that, and we need that specific adjustment. And for those of you who are looking in the book, it's page 123, and that's on the electricity side. So the other piece that we have for some significance is at the Public Works Building, and just making sure, Public Works Facility and the here at the rec center. So, minor electricity, fuel updates, those are the things that are impacting us, just like they are at home for you. And now I'd like to just turn it over quickly to Alyssa related to our youth services impacts.
Good evening. So the mission of youth services is to reduce the impact of adolescent problem behaviors on the community and empower youth to make responsible decisions. We focus a lot on providing positive and engaging opportunities for youth in our area while helping those who have fallen into issues of delinquency to substance use. So with all of our programs, we're able to strengthen community participation in helping family and youth concerns. Also laid out in the metrics, you're also on the screen, our cases for juvenile court diversion, which is also known as JCC, and our youth intervention program both have increased in the last year. New Hampshire has gone under a transformation, and Keene District Court was one of the first courts that got sent into this transformation. So we weren't necessarily certain on how we were going to see cases coming out of that. We fortunately enough were able to see an increase in our cases. And with the youth intervention, we're able to be in the schools more, have more of a presence in our community. So teachers to faculty, administration to parents have been able to reach out to us a lot more to get referrals or brief case management work. Over the last year, we've been able to increase our partnership. Mainly the schools are our biggest one. We are now based in all of the school districts in Cheshire County. For example, at Keene High and Keene Middle School, we have already implemented multiple programs. We have assisted with policies. The Monadnock Youth Coalition, some of the pictures that are on the screen, we were able to host a Bag the Butts cleanup, which we collected over 5 gallons worth of cigarette butts up and down Main Street. We were able to partnership with Breathe New Hampshire, which is a statewide organization, and actually recycle all of these. So it was a great way for us to be in the community helping out while being able to assist outside organizations. Some of the other organizations are just different people that we've been able to partner with to promote different programs. So these are just some of the pictures from last year's summer youth program. We had a great 11 youth who helped us out. They were in a variety of different departments, and it's fantastic to be able to continue it again this year. We have, as of right now, 9 youth who will be signing on. All of them are almost done with paperwork, and we're excited to see where they take off this summer. Kind of had a crazy year of events. We were able to partner with a lot of different departments in the city. For example, with Keene Police, we were able to host a dodgeball tournament for some of the youth in our area. We were able to bring in ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. We have a New Hampshire location, and they have an electronic storage detection canine. His name is Nico. He was able to come down and do a presentation for families and youth all about the dangers of internet, how to be safe on it, and give a really cool demonstration on how this dog is a fantastic resource that we have. Some of the other pictures, we had Mental Health Awareness Day, and we also had we called it Winter Wonderland. It was pretty much like a teen lock-in, and we had over 50 high school students come and participate with a variety of different activities. Some of the new programs that we've been able to offer outside of the JCC, the intervention program, and the summer youth program, we have created a prevention program partnering with Monadnock Youth Coalition. We're currently right now with Gathering Waters, testing it out to see where we can keep pushing it out to schools. We touch upon a few different substance use that we're seeing a lot with teens. We have an alternative to suspension program that
Substance
we
use,
are
that
in
we're
Keene
seeing a
High
lot.
specifically, and it's actually been going really well. The Chill and Be Well Club, it's a partnership with a lot of different organizations, but it's all out at Keene Middle School. And with the rest of the groups, it's a mix of bringing in wellness and peer support from community organizations for a lot of the teens that we have in our area.
And just lastly, the city advisory boards and committees that our department works with, the Ashwilla River Park Advisory Board, the Human Rights Committee, Goose Pond Stewardship, which is a subcommittee of the Conservation Commission, and the Juvenile Conference Committee. All of these particular committees take resources, but they work collectively with us. Certainly, we fold right into our operating budget, but they, occasionally will bring grants or they will bring donations to whatever activities that they're doing. And with that, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer, but we would just like to remind you that all the photos that you have seen tonight have been on our social media pages, so we encourage you to follow us and like all the things that we do and share and show pride in the city of Keene.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you both for the wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it. Had a quick question on the electricity piece.
Yes.
I think it was a little over $60,000 increase year over year. And you mentioned the headwinds we have with electricity costs. I personally anticipate mine to go down in the next year, given the work that we've been doing to get lower rates. Can you elaborate on why we expect next year to be a higher rate than the previous?
Well, certainly these are large consumer facilities that take a high amount of operation. Certainly, you have a library facility that's open to the public, and from basically we're beginning the operations at 7 a.m. and not shutting down until about 9 o'clock at night. So we have to be prepared for the employees to come in, and then close up and make sure that the boiler systems are running at night and that sort of thing. So they're 24, and certainly with the public works and police and fire, these are all 24/7 operations. And yes, some of the rates are anticipated to go down. We are calculating out, and all of the things that we've seen have been steady, and I don't anticipate a significant drop.
So just a couple of things related to the library. Andy had mentioned we hadn't really appropriately budgeted for electricity and other utility expenses at the library because we didn't have any experience with the expanded facility being open. And then with COVID, we still didn't have any experience. And so what we've seen is we need to really increase those numbers at the library. But in addition to that, the city has done well with our electricity pricing. So while you may be seeing a decline, we've been bidding our electricity out for a very long time, and we've gotten favorable rates, but they still climb up year after year, and so that's part of the adjustment as well.
A question for youth services. You talked about you had 9 sign on. What is that program?
The summer youth program?
Well, so you're just like 9 children that signed on? Like, that doesn't sound like very many.
So the last few years, they ended up shortening the amount of youth that were going to be in the program so they can get a more meaningful experience. This way, all of the youth are able to have meetings with myself, and we work on leadership skills. So one of the programs we did last year, we had 11 youth, and we did a full leadership camp with them. So we were able to focus on how to set up for interviews, how to prepare, and really get that full introductory employment experience rather than just learning all of their different sites. So this year we were able to get 9 youth who wanted to join and wanted to be part of it. They went through the whole interview process, and they're going through all the paperwork process now.
So if you'd had 10 or 12, would they have also gotten in? Or it was 9 the cap?
So this year, I believe the cap was going to be around 10 to 12, just depending on availability of youth coming into our program and wanting to be into it. It really depends, since it's all the departments that ask for a youth, it depends on where we're able to put youth, especially with their interests. We don't want to put a youth who specifically wants to be at a desk and do administrative work and have them out and doing services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselors in the audience? Members of the public? So Andy, I gotta have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's a lifeguard gonna make?
They start at $14 an hour.
Good. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Stewart? He's very eager to come up here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Steve Stewart, I'm the police chief. I wish I could say that I was going to be as uplifting or entertaining as Andy, but that's not going to be the case. I will be briefer.
You have learned well.
So our budget's only up 1.9%. Our proposed budget's only up 1.9% this year. It's about $156,000. We didn't submit any supplemental requests this year. So those increases are really just contractual wage and benefit type things for wage and benefit type things. Both of our unions, our supervisors union and our officers union, are in contracts right now. The officers expires in 2025 and the supervisors in 2026. So those are kind of where those costs came from. And then we had some slight increases in our fleet costs, our PC replacement costs, and our contract prosecutor with the county. So as you know, our primary mission is to enforce laws and investigate crimes and prosecute those cases in court. It's also our fundamental belief that our mission statement is what guides the way that we interact with the public, and that's, you know, to ensure to protect life and property and maintain order within the city while ensuring fair and respectful treatment for everyone. So that's kind of what guides where we are. We're authorized 44 sworn officers, 11 full-time non-sworn employees, and 14 part-time non-sworn employees. We're currently operating 8 sworn officers short. So that's pretty significant. And recruiting remains our biggest non-operational challenge. This time last year, we were short 3 officers, but we lost 4 officers to retirement within the past 12 months. Chief Russo, Captain Lawrence, Sergeant T.J. Durendal, Officer Mike Goodchild, and then we lost 2 other officers to other departments in the county, one to take a police chief job, and the other officer just really didn't want to work nights and weekends, and was able to find a job that let him do that. So that's where we are with recruiting. In the past 12 months, we've hired 3 officers. One's in training currently. One just got out of the academy and is about to finish his training, and the third actually resigned during the academy. So we've lost 6, gained 2. So that's where we are with that. So the reality is that recruiting is nearing crisis nationwide, and we're no different. So to try to boost those efforts, we've been working with Beth's office and Rebecca Landry's office to work on some of the different incentive programs, and Rebecca and Asa have been doing some great stuff with videos for us and for recruiting and trying to get out more on social media and sort of explain the job to other people and that may be interested and garner some interest to get us where we need to be. We can accomplish our mission right now the way that we are, but it increases the workload on the current employees we have, which leads to more burnout. So it becomes sort of its own perpetuating problem where the same officers, instead of 44 officers sharing the workload, it's being done with 35 now or 36. It also limits the amount of sort of proactive stuff that we can do. If we're answering emergency calls, we can't be walking downtown. If our detectives are half-staffed right now, so they're doing double duty on just the cases, the regular felony cases that come in, and trying to do quality drug work, because whether you realize it or not, or the public realizes it or not, there's a lot of dangerous people in our city right now from out of state that are members of criminal gangs that have set up shop and sell drugs here, and they're violent people. So we have to stay on top of that aspect of it. Enough about recruiting. So sort of other big things that we have going on this year that were in the works, that we benefited from grant opportunities or congressionally directed spending is obviously body cameras. So body cameras will be implemented this summer. The on-site training will occur in July, and we expect to be up and running with those shortly after that. So that was a huge cost item that we were lucky enough to have paid for largely through that congressionally directed spending. We're also looking at the prospect of hiring and embedding a social worker within the police department that would allow us to sort of reach people, do a better job of coordinating services for people that we encounter that are in need of those things, whether it be mental health, substance abuse, those sorts of things. So we're excited about that, and that would be paid for through grant funds as well, hopefully. Sort of other things that we do to help the budget and help the taxpayer burden here in Keene. We're still involved with grants. We received probably about $90,000 in grants this year for equipment and overtime reimbursements and that sort of thing through the state and also some federal stuff. What we'll need to look at in the future, and probably next year we'll be talking about, is some more supplements in our training lines. The requirements that are put upon us by the state are increasing in terms of in-service training, and our overtime budgets really aren't equipped to handle that completely at this point. And so, yeah, I think that's about all I had prepared to talk to you about tonight. I'm certainly happy to take any questions.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief one. Thank you again for the presentation. This might actually be a question for the city manager. Just a clarifying question on the social worker that you had mentioned just before. That isn't currently in the budget, right? That's more of a topic for future discussion, right?
Yes, that's right, Councillor. So we are including it in the salary ordinance, though, to put it on the, on the salary ordinance, should we be successful at receiving a grant to fund the position. But we haven't yet applied for it, and we still have work to do in terms of job description and structure and what that will look like. But it is our goal to apply for those funds once that grant becomes available.
Other counselors in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Councilor Workman, Ward 4, Colorado Street. I have a follow-up question or not so much a question, but just to advocate that when we are considering that social service, social worker position, that we really look at removing it from the police department and putting it in with the social service department here and human service department here. It might just help folks feel a little more comfortable going to the social service, the social worker, if they are not embedded in the police department. So I would just like that to be a consideration. Thank you.
Anybody else? So I guess it doesn't make you feel any better to know that all your compadres, which you know, but for the benefit of others here, are in the same boat with trying to find police officers.
Yeah.
Which is something I can't understand, because I think it's one of the greatest jobs in the world, particularly in Keene, New Hampshire. But I know you have done a lot to try to bring folks forward, and it'll keep happening, but We'll do
No,
the
this
best we
problem
can.
isn't unique to us. It's a nationwide problem.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dave Hickling, Airport Director. Just want to take a little opportunity here, just talk a little bit about the airport. The airport continues to be a very active airport, serving nearly all general aviation clientele. We have private and recreational aircraft, law enforcement, medical transport, utility maintenance and patrol, military operations, and business travel through corporate and charter flights. So we're really versatile airport, serves a lot of parts of the aviation clientele. All our hangars remain full. We still have a demand for hangars. We have still have over 20 people on our waiting list to get into T hangars. And we still have an interest in private hangar development. Some of the ones that we talked to earlier had thought we're going to develop hangars have kind of backed off, lost interest, I think, because of the cost of the building materials and all. But on the bright side, we do have some new potential developers that we hope to get proposals from soon and be able to work to get some new hangars put up there. Also, in this coming year, we've started working on trying to attract an aviation business for development at the airport. We've done a lot of work in the past year getting a land use study done for the airport and then developing a website so that we can market that. And we're going to work a lot in the coming year trying to attract an aviation business. So this is more than a private hangar. This would be a hangar that would bring in jobs and revenue and more airport activity. That's a big goal of us that we have moving forward. So looking at our budget, I think I've got some good news for you here. For the third year in a row, we've been able to increase our revenue to expense ratio, and we've reduced our airport general fund obligation to just over $200,000. So that's a big step for us, I think. A big part of this is through our revenues. That's the biggest change in our budget. Considering the demand for hangars, and this isn't just to this region, it's all through New England, and the substantial waiting list we have, we just think the law of supply and demand just indicates that a rate increase is appropriate here. So we're proposing an increase to the T hangar rates. This should increase our revenues to about $20,000 annually. Additionally, we're going to be doing some changes to our landing fee structure and increasing our landing fees. They haven't been changed in quite a long time. That'll also increase some revenues. Aviation fueling revenues has been trending upwards. We're seeing some increases there, so we've increased that line as well. And then we also have increases in revenue through our leases with airport terminal leases and with land leases. So that gives us more money coming in, which helps close that gap. On the expenditure side, we, just like everybody else, are dealing with a lot of increased costs. So we've had to increase some of our lines, but what we were able to do, and I've been kind of doing this for the last couple of years, and I'm looking at lines that historically have maybe been overfunded and just reducing those. So I was able to pretty much keep our expenditures, operational expenditures, flatlined. There was, I mean, and I'm even compensating for some of the stuff we don't control, like fleet services, and making up that difference. So we really only have a $4,656, I think, increase in expenditures. So I think we've got a small, very dedicated and talented staff at the airport, and I think we take a lot of pride in doing things frugally, and giving the city of Keene the benefits of having this airport here with as little impact to the tax base as possible. So if there are any questions or concerns, I'm happy to address those.
Members of the committee? Others? Yes, go ahead.
I would just say that every time we hear from the airport, it's always on an upward trend, which is really encouraging. After all the work that we did, we're seeing the payoff.
Good, thank you, we tried.
Would you say it's taking long? Jeez, kind of short night, too. Anybody in the public wish to speak? Thank you.
Thank you.
Community development, and it starts on page 141.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. Jesse Rounds, Community Development Director. Thank you for the opportunity to present our budget for the coming fiscal year. By and large, we're presenting an unchanged budget from last year. This past year, we've worked with the fire department to integrate fire-related permitting, permit review, and inspection into our community development permitting system. This will mean that the public can come to us for all development permits, and that the fire department has now been integrated within our existing project management software. On the planning side, we've worked through some significant updates to the Land Development Code and completed a housing needs assessment partly funded through an Invest NH grant. We've also continued to provide robust support for our Planning Board, ZBA, Historic District Commission, and many other boards and commissions. And this past year, our team began support for the Congregate Living and Social Services Licensing Board. In the coming fiscal year, our planning team will be exploring some long-range planning projects that will focus on neighborhoods, and that we hope will build towards an update to our comprehensive master plan. We will also be working with a consultant to implement one or more projects to update our zoning code or planning process funded through a grant from Invest NH. And we will also continue to support all our city departments through our Geographic Information System program. On our building division side, we plan to continue integration with the fire department permitting process and improve our online permitting offerings. And then our inspection service is first rate, and they are continuing to integrate with our fire department to provide combined inspection visits, which I think is going to be a huge help for our commercial customers. And just quickly on the revenue side, I think we're going to be looking at our fees just to try and make sure that we're keeping pace with the amount of work that we do and try and be fair to our customers as well. And with that, I just want to close with some facts and figures. This is just for the fiscal year. We've issued 14 new single-family home construction permits. 11 of those have been closed. 70 renovations or additions to single-family homes. 4 new construction permits for commercial structures. 4 change of use permits, and 336 other permits, excluding sign permits. On our planning side, working with our planning board, we've completed 7 subdivisions approved, 8 boundary line adjustments, 17 major site plans, and 4 major historic district reviews. And happy to answer any questions.
Questions, members of the committee? Other city councilors? Folks from the public? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will conclude for this evening. We will be back here next Tuesday for the rest of the budget. We have the city council meeting tomorrow night. And then another finance committee, regular finance committee, Thursday of next week. Thank you very much.